Hi guys, part 2 then. So we've got all of our brilliant notes. Now what we've got to do is write one sentence each explaining what impression we get of Hiccup and what impression we get of Gobber. So we've got to use all of this information and put it in a sentence, okay? So you can start your sentences by saying, my first impression of Hiccup is, and my first impression of Gobber is. So I thought, shall we do the Hiccup one together and then you can do the Gobber one by yourself? Okay, so what impression do we have of Hiccup then, Storm?
Nervous.
Okay, so my first impression of Hiccup is that he is nervous. What makes us think that he's nervous, Storm? What makes us think that Hiccup's nervous? What tells us that he's nervous?
Slightly sick. It's alliteration.
Alliteration it is. Because he feels slightly sick. Okay, do we want to do another sentence? What about the fact that he's useless? We also
Can you write down that?
know he's useless. What does that tell us about him?
I'm finished.
You finished your apple, good boy. We also know he's useless because the other boys
Can you stop?
don't want him
That looks like clothes.
to be in charge. Are you criticising my writing, Storm? So, okay. My first impression of Hiccup is that he is nervous because he feels slightly sick. Okay. Let's not start nagging me about ice cream, shall we?
Ice cream.
So all your friends are watching this.
Yeah.
So, my first impression of Hiccup is that he's nervous because he feels slightly sick. We also know he's useless because the other boys don't want him to be in charge. So this is our first impression. Okay, so what you can do now is write one about Gobber. So look at all of your notes. I'll help you in a minute, Storm. Now, with Gobber, if writing big long sentences like that is a little bit tricky, you might just want to write bullet points. So my first impression of Gobber is that he's scary. He likes shouting. Okay, so if you would prefer for Hiccup or for Gobber to just do bullet points, that is completely fine as well. Okay, because the important thing isn't the writing, the important thing is you understanding what you've read. Okay, so come on, Storm, you're going to do your one now.
Write it.
Okay.
Write it.
Okay, so you can pause the video. And what would be really, really great is if you wanted to get your mummies or your daddies to maybe take a photo of your impressions, and we can share them on the WhatsApp group and we can see all the different things that you did. So we've just paused this now, and this is what Storm's written. So do you want to read what you've written, Storm?
My first
Impression
of
Gobber
is scary because he screams at the boys. strong because he has bulging muscles.
Okay, so if you want to, send us a picture of what you managed to write down. So, there's one last thing that we're going to do. And it's a little bit tricky, but I reckon you guys can do it. Okay? So, you might have heard Storm mention similes earlier, because the poor child always gets me going on at her about these when we're reading. So a simile, what is a simile then?
A simile is when it has like or as in it.
It is, so it's when something, two things are compared to being like or as something else. And you can always tell if it's a simile, it's nice and easy, because there will always be the word like or there'll be the word as in it. Okay? So, an example of a simile is her eyes were like diamonds, or her eyes were as sparkly as diamonds, and they're both similes. So let's think about what image, what picture do we get in our heads with her eyes were like diamonds? What does that make you imagine? If I said, Storm, your eyes were like diamonds, what impression would that give of your eyes?
They're all sparkly.
Yeah, that they're all sparkly and maybe very beautiful. Okay,
Yeah.
so similes create a picture in our head, and that's the wonderful thing about reading books, is that the picture that we get in our heads is different. So we are told a simile in what we've just read today. We're told Gobba has a beard like exploding fireworks. Okay, so we're going to think, what picture do we imagine about Gobba's beard when we read that simile? Okay, so you can pause this for a second and have a talk to your mummy or daddy. What does Gobba has a beard like exploding fireworks? What does that make you imagine about Gobba's beard? Okay, so you can pause that while you discuss it. So Storm, what does that make you imagine? If his beard is like exploding fireworks, what impression do you get of his beard? Like an exploding firework.
His beard goes all over the place.
Yeah, like his beard goes all over the place. What, it's big and scruffy?
Yeah, like my dad.
Like Daddy's beard. His daddy grown a burly beard. What about its colour? Burly beard, alliteration. What about the colour of his beard? What colours are fireworks? What colours are fireworks? Are they bright colours or dull colours?
Mum.
Well, they're quite bright, aren't they? So what colour might his beard be? A dull colour or a bright colour?
Bright.
A bright colour, so it's a big, bright, scruffy, burly beard might be what we imagine. And if we look at the picture of Gobba,
Mummy.
does he look like he has a big, burly, scruffy beard?
Yeah.
He does. Right, that's the end of our first lesson, guys. Hopefully it wasn't too tricky. Like I said, I'm used to teaching big old teenagers rather than lovely year 1s and 2s. Send an email of any of the work that you managed to do, and we would love to see it. And we will give you another lesson tomorrow. You're going to say goodbye, Storm?
Bye.
You're going to say goodbye, Oak?
Bye-bye.
Okay, see you later. You want me to say goodbye? Okay, bye.